Hey guys, it's Matt with Doug Andrus Distributing. Today we're going to be talking about warning lights on a Freightliner Cascadia. So we're just going to go ahead and dive in. I've included a picture showing all the different warning lights that you could see on the dash of the Freightliner Cascadia. We'll just start with kind of right on the left-hand side. You see there is the image of an engine. If that is on, it's called a malfunction indicator lamp or a MIL light. If that comes on, it indicates an emissions related fault. If you have that going on, you're going to want to call outside service, tell them what you got going on. A lot of times they can do some remote diagnostics and be able to see whatever the truck is seeing and help you understand what it is you need to do. Just above that, you have a little picture of a gas pump with some water droplets next to it. That's simply water and fuel. So that happens if you get some diesel that's been a little contaminated or fuel filter got a little water in it, something like that. Most of the time that will resolve itself. Occasionally you'll have to replace the fuel filters. So that's one that if it comes on, it's not something that's going to shut you down immediately. So keep running. And if it doesn't go off on its own after a couple hours, go ahead and call outside service and they can tell you what the next step would be. Again, in that tachometer cluster of lights, you have the sideways ice cream cone with the little vertical dots there. So that is simply a light that tells you a DPF regen is required. So there's two things you can do with that. Either you can jump on the freeway and so that it can burn out the particulate matter, or if that's not possible, you can do a parked regen. So if that light is solid, that's what you should do. There is also a scenario where it could be blinking. If it's blinking, that means it's kind of moved from, yeah, you should do a parked regen to you need to do a parked regen now or you're going to be derated. Just to the right of that light, again, is that sideways ice cream cone, this time with a little temperature symbol. And that simply is indicating that your exhaust temperature is high. If it's blinking, if it's flashing, it's doing a slow flash, that indicates that a DPF regen is happening. If you're driving down the road and that comes on, that means it's doing a regen while it's running. Just FYI, don't park in any dry weeds or anything like that if that light's on, because there's the chance that you could start a small brush fire. So then if you go to the right of that light, you have an actual check engine light. So this check engine light indicates an engine condition, not emissions related. This is one that, again, if that comes on, it's not an emergency. You can still run, but you will want to contact outside service, tell them what you're seeing, and follow their recommendations as to what to do next. And then the last one in that little cluster is the red stop engine light. So if you get that, that's the most severe light. If you get the red stop engine light, it indicates that there's a serious fault and that you need to shut down the engine immediately. If you don't turn it off, then in 30 to 60 seconds, the truck will go into self-protection mode and will shut off on its own. Now, on the Freightliner, you do have an engine shutdown override button. If you do have the engine shutdown light and you're somewhere at a busy intersection, you can't just turn off the truck, you can hit that engine shutdown override button and that will give you another 60 seconds to go somewhere. And you can hit that button multiple times to get extensions of time until you can get parked somewhere. Once you get parked, go ahead and give outside service a call and tell them what you got going on and they'll guide you through what the next step is. So if you look in the top left corner, you have two amber lights there. The one on the right, the picture of the truck with an up and down arrow and an exclamation point, is a warning telling you there's a problem with your air suspension system and that there's an active fault. And then the amber light just to the left of it that looks kind of like an airbag with an X through it is actually telling you that there's a fault with the supplemental restraint system, which in our case is not an airbag because our trucks don't have airbags, but it's with the seatbelt. It's noticing that there's something going wrong with the seatbelt. So if we go just below on the bottom, you'll see a little orange fuel pump light. That simply indicates that you have low fuel. The next one over is diesel exhaust fluid. So that is an indicator that's just telling you that the diesel exhaust fluid is low and that you need to go ahead and fill that up. Going over from there, you of course see the blue high beam light. That just indicates that your high beams are on. Right next to that is a little green outline of an engine with a circle around it. That is indicating that your engine brake is activated, so you can turn that on and off, of course, with the engine brake control on the right hand stalk. To the right of that is the red park brake light, so that is simply telling you that the parking brake is set. And next to that is a little green light that's just telling you that your lights are on. Now if we go up to the top, just above the right hand turn signal, you'll see what looks like a vehicle with the speedometer and then an exclamation point. That is for vehicles that are set up with adaptive cruise control. But basically that just indicates that there's a problem with the adaptive cruise control system and that it's not functioning correctly. If you do have that system and that comes on, go ahead and give outside service a call. Let them know what you're seeing and they can talk you through what kind of troubleshooting we might need to do to get that corrected. To the right of that light, you'll see a truck on an incline with a circle around it and a slash through it. It's an amber light. That's basically saying that the hill start assist has been turned off. The hill start assist is a brake in the transmission that will hold you in place if you're on an incline when you take your foot off the brake and apply it to the gas pedal. That feature is only on automatic transmission trucks, and that's just simply a button on your dash panel, and you can turn that on and off. Now, if we go down into the speedometer, you'll see that there's 6 lights there. On the bottom left, you have looks like an A with a circle around it and an exclamation point. That's simply telling you that there is a fault with the active brake assist system. Now that system is tied in with that adaptive cruise control system. If you have that system and that comes on, that means you are coming up too close to another vehicle. If you go just above and to the right of that, you see a amber gear with a exclamation point in the middle. That is just denoting a transmission fault. So there's some kind of weird thing with the transmission. If that illuminates and stays illuminated, go ahead and call outside service and they will be able to walk you through what the next steps should be. Right at the top there, you have what looks like the back end of a truck skidding. That is your electronic stability control system kicking in. So if it's flashing, that means that there's been a stability event detected and that the electronic stability control system is active. It's actively trying to keep you from sliding all over the place. If that light is on and it's solid, that means there's a problem with the electronic stability control and that it'll need to be serviced. So if it comes on and it's solid, call outside service and let them know what you got going on. If it comes on and it's flashing, that means that you are in a slippery environment. Go ahead and slow down. Take it easy and know that you don't have really great traction in the area you're in. Just to the right of that stability control is the ABS. So that is denoting the tractor ABS. If it comes on and goes off, that just means that the anti-lock brakes are working. If it's solid, then that means there's a problem with the system. And if that's the case, then of course call outside service. And then just below that is your trailer ABS. So it's the little ABS with a circle around it, and then it looks like it's on top of a trailer. So same thing, momentary illumination just means that the ABS system is active, and if it's a solid illumination, that means that there's a problem. Call outside service and they'll get you helped out. Just below that is a red light that says brake air. All that indicates is that your air in your air tanks is low and you need to let it build up before you can release your brakes. So that is most of the lights that you're going to see that are common. There's a few other ones, things like your high coolant temp, brake air supply low, engine oil pressure low. But any of those, that you'll have a light, but you'll also have a message in your info center in the middle of your dash. And so those will tell you what's going on as well. If you get a low engine oil pressure or a very high coolant temperature, those are things you definitely want to keep an eye on. The engine oil pressure is something will probably trip the engine shutdown light, and so you'll want to call outside service on that. High coolant temperature. It could be as simple as, you're climbing a steep grade and it's just hot. Your truck should kick on the fan and keep things cool. Keep an eye on that. If it consistently becomes a problem or if it stays high and doesn't come down, again, give outside service a call. The other one, the brake air supply pressure, again, it's just going to let you know that the air pressure in your air tanks has dropped below 70 psi. So that could indicate either an air leak, or if you're shut down and maybe you hit the brakes a bunch of times, it'll go below that. So just keep an eye on that. If it is because of a air leak, then again, see if you can identify where the air leak is coming from. If it's something simple like an airline, something like that, you might be able to handle that yourself. Or if it's hard to tell where it is, or if it's coming from something that you can't fix yourself, call outside service and we can get you taken care of.